Today we're driving the Mercedes GLC 300. This is a little bit different because it's a gas car, and as an electric channel you'd think we'd only do electric cars, but we don't want to push the agenda that electric is always the way to go because the infrastructure here in North America is not perfect yet. And until we get there, I'm personally going to drive an electric car, but my wife is still considering replacing her current gas car with another gas car. And the funny thing is, as I drive this Mercedes GLC 300, I feel like this should have been Mercedes' first car to make electric because most of their electric cars right now are very, very expensive and it's out of the reach of most people. Because let's be honest here, electric cars tend to be a little bit more jacked up in price compared to the traditional gas car. There's a tax on it, right?
But when you say that though, if this model became an electric car, it would be significantly more than it is now.
Right, but most electric cars are like
still looking at like $100,000 for this
But that's
car.
the thing, Mercedes would have to find a way not to make it $100,000 because like all the people who are driving cars right now are spending between like 40 to 60,000 US, right? So you're looking at cars like the Model Y, the Ioniq 5, the Mustang Mach-E. Like those are currently the most, well, the Model Y is the most popular electric car, but those are currently the most popular electric cars in general. Mercedes, I'm having a conversation right now. So those are what you have to look at. But if
sorry.
You should be sorry. But if Mercedes had priced this correctly, I think this would like sell right off the block. But look, I'm digressing right now because I love this car a lot for this price point. And look, if you're...
Which is why I'm considering this car now.
Right, she's considering this car, which is a gas car, but...
I am sorry to hear that. Get well soon.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
But the problem is like, we want to drive nothing but electric, but I feel like the infrastructure is just not ready yet for a lot of people. Like if you're just driving in the city, it's great. Like my Model 3, I come home, I charge it, it's fantastic. But if you're someone living in an apartment, like do you want to be the guy that has to constantly go out?
And so that's one of the main concerns.
Yeah.
Right?
Do you constantly want to be going out looking for chargers to charge your car every single day? And then of course supercharging, which is the faster version of it, is not good for the battery because you're charging it at really high speeds. And look, there's going to be a future where we only drive electric cars. Like let's take Norway for example. 80% of their car sales are electric. But their government is offering so many incentives to the point where it's cheaper to buy an electric car than a gas car. And on top of that, they have the infrastructure to support it. Like you go down their main roads, there's electric chargers everywhere on the sides of the roads. If you're going into a coffee shop, there's electric chargers outside. You go into an apartment complex, there's electric chargers inside. You go on the highway, every stop, the majority of like old school gas stations are now mostly electric chargers. And that's the problem with North America.
Because the worry of having to wait in line to charge your car, since we have very few still, right?
Yeah, I feel like
people
there's
are
more
worried
of
they're going to have to wait to charge their car because there might be 5 or 6 people in front of them waiting.
Yeah, like if you're in California where it's more of an electric predominant state, I'd imagine there'd be more of a lineup to charge your car compared to somewhere like Alabama, right? Where the adoption is not as high. But like here in Canada, like there are electrical chargers, but you have to like look them up and usually they're level 2, not level 3. You have to find them. I mean, there's a lot of planning involved and that planning creates anxiety for some people, right? If you don't know what to expect. Now, don't get me wrong. I feel like a lot of the news has been blowing this thing out of proportion, like broken chargers, people not being able to charge their car. I feel like that's just like a one-off thing of a bad winter, right? Because like there's people in the Yukon who buy electric cars and they're happy with it. And it's significantly colder than, let's say, Chicago, right? Like we're in Toronto, it's pretty similar to Chicago in terms of weather. And it's not a problem. Like, don't get me wrong, you are going to lose range. It's going to happen. Right? Like it's just the way batteries don't like cold. It's just a common thing we've known for years. But depending on the car you buy, some will lose more range than others. Like having a heat pump helps.
But what I am trying to understand is why people are saying that the range sucks on most electric cars. The average person doesn't drive that many kilometers or miles in a day, right?
Like how much is it, like 100 miles on a typical day?
Do you charge your car, your Tesla? How many times a month do you have to charge it?
It depends on what you drive, but usually like 3 times.
Okay, so, but the average person doesn't go more than 50 kilometers a day, 100 at most, right?
Right.
So that is sufficient. The amount of kilometers you get on a full charge is sufficient enough to get somewhere
If
in
you're
a
city
day.
driving though, like I still,
Right, but-
I don't recommend electric car if you're someone who's constantly driving.
Right, if you're driving 250 or 300 kilometers a day.
I don't recommend it.
No,
it's just
but-
with the infrastructure is just not there yet for that.
But then even if you drove 250 kilometers a day, you go home and charge your car at night. If you have a house, if you have a charging port in your driveway.
No, I understand
or,
that, but I could say if you're someone who's going city to city, that's like your job or whatever it is, like you don't want to have to worry about, typing in where the next electrical charger is, making
But
sure
that's
you have
if you
just enough
need
to
to
get
stop
there.
and charge your car. At the end of the day, you can get
left?
home. You can get home at the end of the day and charge it.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I understand that.
Most cars have 300 kilometers on a full charge.
Most cars. Most have more.
Most have way more.
Less in the winter, obviously.
But I'm saying like the minimum you get on a full charge for most electric cars is 300
Okay,
kilometers.
so let's set up a scenario where
So-
we don't think electric cars are worth it, okay?
Okay.
If you live in an apartment and there's no infrastructure, don't buy an electric car.
I agree.
It's just
I agree.
like you're
It's
gonna.
too stressful to have to find a place.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're gonna go around the whole city looking for chargers every day to charge your car, and then you're gonna end up reducing the battery because you're gonna sometimes use superchargers,
Right.
or DC fast chargers. So I think if you live in an apartment where there's no infrastructure in your condo or apartment, it's off the list. If you drive super long distances, all the time, every day, because again the infrastructure is not 100%, I still think you're better off buying a gas car or a hybrid. And the third reason not to buy an electric car is it's expensive, right? Not all of them. Like I think the Tesla Model 3, Model Y they're significantly dropping in price. Elon keeps reducing them. They're becoming more affordable. But like, okay, let's take this car for example. This is 60,000 Canadian.
Yeah,
right?
58.
58,000 Canadian. This is a beautiful car. Inside, the way it drives, the way it feels, it's comfortable, it's smooth. Like it's a really good car for the price point.
And in many ways, I would say it's not that. It's not inferior to the, the EQE 500 where that one costs over $100,000.
Well, I mean, the EQ500 does have air suspension. It's a little bit more luxurious, but this still feels
But I'm
like
saying,
a
like,
very
for the
luxurious
price,
car. No, for the price,
You're paying less than half for, you're paying half the price for this car.
Right.
Right? This is like half the price.
Right.
So look what you're getting for $60,000. Yes, it's not electric,
Okay,
so there's no comparison.
But the point I'm trying to make, though, okay, is if you were to buy this car and it was electric, you'd end up spending $10,000 to $20,000 more just because it's electric.
10 to 20,
Yeah.
10,000 more?
If this was electric,
I'd say at least like 25 to 30.
No, I don't think so. It depends on the car manufacturer. I think 20,000. I think 20,000 is being fair. You think
That's
30?
being really fair. I'd say
Okay,
more than that.
let's take something like the Genesis GV70, for example.
Yeah, compare the gas to the, and it's the
okay.
exact same car.
So it's 20,000 that one, 25,000.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Canadian, guys.
Yeah.
So it's probably like $10 American, but $25,000 Canadian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're the same car.
Same car, but one's
essentially.
electric. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, fine. But the other thing I think too is the whole environmental impact. So this is a little bit dodgy, okay? Like I'll be straight up with you. Like I want a better environment. I want cleaner air, but I didn't buy an electric car because that was the first thing that was on my mind. I bought a Tesla because I like the tech behind it. Like I like the idea of just walking away from my car. I like the idea of being able to charge it like an iPhone. I like the idea of having such a sophisticated entertainment system or infotainment system that most other cars don't have. That's what attracted me to a Tesla, that ease of lifestyle. And personally, I can't go back to a gas car. But
most people complain about greenhouse gas.
But the thing
emissions.
is, there's an upfront environmental cost
Concern, yeah.
to buying an electric
Right.
car because you have to mine all the battery.
You have to, manufacturing the battery, the lithium ion battery, is definitely not environmentally friendly.
Absolutely.
But over the long run, driving a gas car for, 10 or 15 years, the tailpipe emissions, right? Like
So that's
you
the
have,
thing. You have to drive an electric car for a very long time to have it be cleaner than a
Right.
gas car. And you got to remember too, like all these mines, like in Africa, probably in China, a lot of these mines are using like coal power. Like there's a lot more behind it, right? It's not so black and white, right? So there is a long-term effect of having to own that car for a while to have your electric car be cleaner than a gas car.
right, okay, so overall, yes, to manufacture this car, is not environmentally friendly, but, over 10 years, if you're driving an electric car as opposed to a gas car, no tailpipe emissions, so you are essentially doing something good for the environment over the long run.
But again, if you keep your car for that long, like I don't keep my car for 10 to 15 years. I keep my
But
car
I think
maybe
a
for
lot
like
of
6 to
people
8.
do, right?
Some people do, right? Some people do.
Most
but then,
people do.
Okay, but then that brings on the other question is your battery life, right? Like
Right.
so if we've seen Teslas, it's mostly Teslas because they've been around the longest, but we've seen like Model S's reach like 1.2 million miles. Usually between those 1.2 million miles, I think there's a guy again is somewhere in one of the Nordic countries where he had to like change his battery 3 times. The first time was under warranty, and then a couple more times he did it. It was like 20 grand or whatever it costs to change it again. So there is the replacement of batteries. But if you keep your car for like 8 to 10 years, that range is going to get chopped down a bit. Now the good news is, by law, at least here in Canada, battery
And in the US as well.
in the US, battery warranty has to be at minimum
10 years.
8 years. Some companies offer 10.
So, and the other concern is that what happens if your battery does have to be replaced? A lot of people are like, well, is the battery just going to end up in the landfill?
That's another-
Is it going to be
another
able,
environmental
are they going to
factor.
be able to reuse the battery, take parts from it and reuse it? I mean, I don't know, because a lot of these cars haven't been around for that long yet, and I think they're eventually going to find ways to reuse every part of the battery.
Yeah, exactly. But look, honestly, like, we are electric channel, predominantly electric. We are going to review some hybrids soon. But like, I just want to make things clear. We don't have an agenda. We still think there's a place for gas cars. I do think eventually everything will be electric, but we're nowhere near that yet. Like, we need the infrastructure. Plus, on top of that, like, I've talked to a lot of people in the business, who work in hydro, and they say our current infrastructure can't support everyone charging at the same time right now. So that's another thing that needs to be talked about. Like, how are you going to get that power? Everyone wants to be clean renewables, but is that going to happen here in Canada? Like, do we need another nuclear power plant? Like, how is that going to work? So there's a lot of things that need to be talked about and need to be put in action first before we can have like the perfect setup like Norway has. Because Norway is a great example of what it could look like. But again, they're a smaller country. Their government's doing a way better job than the US and Canada in terms of offering incentives to switch to electric. And because of that, their city is now quiet because you don't hear traffic anymore. It's cleaner because there's no pollution from the exhaust. And people seem to be happy, right? So this is going to take time. Don't let anybody shame you if you buy an electric car. Don't let anybody shame you if you buy a gas car, because there's still really good reasons to have them around. Now, with all that out of the way, Andrea, what do you think of the GLC 300?
I really love this car, and this is probably going to be a car that I will consider for my next purchase. If I do end up buying a gas car. I had the EQE 500 last week for a week. Now I have this car for a week. I really do love them both, almost equally. So it's a great car.
Yeah, but you're comparing something that's 130,000 to 60. I personally think this
I know, but I really do love both cars. And so for the price point, I would probably go more towards this car.
Absolutely.
I
think for the dollar, I
Yeah.
think this is like, it nails everything.
Yeah,
It's
I still can't justify 130,000 for the EQE.
No, I can't either.
I can justify 60 for this.
Right.
So for me, I would probably go with this car.
I agree too. It's smooth. It's pretty quick, even though it has a 4-cylinder engine, but there's an AMG option. The tech is really, really good. I'm happy with it. There's not too many screens like the hypervisor screen and the EQE. There's good enough storage space. It's just a very comfortable, solid ride for this price point.
Hypervisor?
Is it called hypervisor?
Hyperscreen.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, hyperscreen. Well, anyways, that wraps up our review of the Mercedes GLC 300, or mini review rather, and our opinion about electric cars. Just buy what you want, guys, okay? And don't get sucked into all the negative attention, because a lot of it is exaggerated, just so that a lot of these media sites can get clicks. Trust me, I'm in the social media business. I know how this works. A lot of it is vamped up. Those of you who own electric cars know exactly what to expect. And those of you who don't, maybe should do a little bit more research before believing everything you watch on the news. Anyways, we have another car coming in next week, so make sure you subscribe to the channel for that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hit the like button if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys in the next one.